deceased grandmother came to me in a dream and showed me that my husband was cheating. I remember my husband was about to leave the house. So this particular night I was extremely sleepy and I hadn't got much rest. I remember my husband was about to leave the house, and for some reason I was overwhelmed with thankfulness, saying that I love him, I love him, I love him. So I told him, I love you so much. Something about saying I love you so much always did something in the relationships that I've had with men. When I say I love you so much, within 24 hours, there's something that I find out about the man that will stop me from loving him so much. I said, I love you so much. And he responded back, I love you too. In the dream, I was walking up the steps of the house that I grew up in. I grew up with my grandmother. I knew I was in a familiar place, but I also knew that I had stepped into a past place, and it was scary. In this dream, when I made it in the house, be quiet, Nada, be quiet. I knew it was her voice, but I couldn't see her. So she walked me to the back in the room that I grew up in. And I stood there and I looked around, and in the dream I was wondering why was I there. But then I heard his ex's voice and I heard him laugh. He walked into the living room and she was on the floor performing. She was on her hands and knees. She was twerking and bouncing and sliding up and down the floor. I was standing right over her and she didn't see me. It was like I was a spirit. I looked up and I saw him. He was smiling, talking about how good she looked. And yeah, baby, yeah, like that, like that. She was laughing and she was saying, you like this? I could see my grandmother appear. My grandmother said, I love you so much. And that was the same exact thing that I had told him before he left the house that night. I trusted that I was the only woman in his life and the only one that he would love for life, but it was a lie. My grandmother had me stand there and watch, and she just kept saying, Nada, watch. I continued to watch him and his ex. She got on her knees, unzipped his pants. She said to him, do your woman do it like this? And he smiled and he chuckled and his chest poked out. With arrogance, he continued to allow her to please him. And I watched. And my grandmother continued to say, Nada, I love you so much. He held her up against the wall, right there in front of me. My heart was racing. I could then feel my grandmother wrapping her arms around me, even though I could only see her silhouette. And she held me and she said it one more time. She said, Nada, I love you so much. I woke up from the dream. 2 days later, I questioned him. He began to stutter and fluster over his words. After first, he remained quiet for a while. I said, when was the last time you saw your ex? And he was like, nah, none of that's going on. Truth was, all of that was going on. I then told him, when we got in this relationship, I asked you, were you done? And you advised me that you were. You said that there was nothing back there for you. Anything in your past was already gone and you would not return to your vomit. But yet, I feel like you may have. So what I'm saying to you is, any game that you play, you will always be exposed, because I prayed before I moved on into another relationship that all of the things that happened in the past would not repeat themselves, especially without me knowing. And when I knew, I would have the strength to walk away from what was old. One thing about spirits is they travel. And another thing about a spirit is they are familiar. So come to find out, he was cheating with his ex. Not only had he cheated with his ex, but he had also made a baby with her.